Hello. This is the 185th Test from the Future, an experimental podcast from the year 2224, which we are sending from our present to yours. My name is Dirk.
And my name is Simon.
And we're putting the past in podcast. So, time for some more experimenting in our podcast. Because I brought another joke from the future.
Oh, nice. A joke from the future for our listeners in the past.
You want to hear it?
But also for me. Yes, please. I would like to.
So, why is rain better than rain?
I don't know. Why is a rain better than rain?
Because it's written with AI.
Wait, what?
Because it's written with AI.
The first one.
Yes.
Like raindrops falling from the sky.
And the other one was rain with
EIGH.
Joke from the future. What do you think? 23rd
So
century.
it's a pun, yeah? Is a pun the right word? Anyway, you got the letters, the wordplay.
Yeah.
The letter play, plus AI, like artificial intelligence.
There you go.
Took me a little while to get. It's not making me laugh. But maybe just because it took me too long to get it.
Okay.
So it's not bad, yeah? Just maybe because I had to think it through too much. That's why I didn't burst out laughing.
But that's why this is an experimental podcast.
Right. Trying out jokes.
Exactly.
Find out which ones register. I may not be the best audience for that. I think other times when you've told jokes, I had a similar reaction. But
Yes. But that's okay.
But we'll see how our listeners in the past.
Exactly. Okay. So we'll be back with another experiment. But today is not about experiments.
Not today.
Because we visited a pretty cool location recently.
We did. It's an excavation site of, from the 21st century.
Yeah.
So from the time, I guess, or around the time of our listeners.
Yeah. And that was pretty eye-opening. And there aren't a whole lot of them. This was an area that was covered after a volcanic eruption. And a while ago, they started excavating, finding out all kinds of things of the 21st century that were preserved. So we could suddenly kind of feel like we were back in the 21st century and experiencing some of these things firsthand.
Exactly. Everything that was there, there was entombed in ash.
Yeah.
So, because, lava would have just melted everything, but the ash covered everything. It's been undisturbed for around 200 years.
Yep.
Now we're getting to have a look in there.
And also, I'm saying experience. We didn't then get to do 21st century stuff, but look at things and feel like we were suddenly there. And because this is the time where our listeners are, they will maybe recognize a few of these things.
Right.
And there were signs everywhere explaining things or basically guessing what they were for.
Right, like signs from meaning, like in a museum.
Yeah.
Signs that have been put up recently, like as part of the excavation, so that people like us, tourists, could check it out.
Yeah.
Know what's going on.
And
but like you say, some of them are guesses.
And it was pretty big, so you could walk through it. Some it was open air, some was inside. Some places had signs, but some you could also just walk around and speculate. They also were still excavating, so you could still see them working on things. And this was very big and also very varied. And I think we could speak about it for several episodes. But we thought we will just highlight a few things that we noticed.
Yeah. Exactly. So, the first thing, I think the thing that makes it really spooky is that there are people there entombed in ash. So, the excavators are taking, is that the right word? Archeologists? Doesn't seem old enough for archeologists. The folk who are working on the place. They are taking away the ash from most things, but they've left the people who are entombed in ash.
Yeah.
That's a bit spooky.
Yeah.
And they've left them there.
Yes, I think because they were all white. I'm not sure if they were like the original people or they basically left room, like they were covered in ash and then kind of decomposed or whatever happens. And then
Presumably it's a skeleton inside there. But.
But what I understood is like they filled the holes with calcium.
Okay.
And then took away the ash, and then the remaining calcium was exactly the shape of the person or the people that were in there.
Okay. So more like an impression. Like
so that's why they were all white. So I don't think they were the original people.
Okay.
But you could really see what they were doing right then when it happened.
Tended to be cowering in fear.
Also,
the volcano and all.
Which is kind of like, this is probably the most traumatic thing of the whole excavation side. Because if you think about that must have sucked.
Yeah, very much so.
But it's so long ago, then I guess now it's more like we look at it from a scientific perspective, and it allows us to
and what helps, like, at least for me, what helped me to put some distance between myself and, as you're saying, what would have been a really horrific thing, they were so short.
Yeah.
Like, they're grown adults.
That's true.
But they were so short, it kind of makes it feel, a bit like being in an... No, this is too grim. I don't mean it like an amusement park, but just in the sense of it was easier to put distance between myself and them because they were so much shorter. Because
they're less similar than we are?
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, I guess.
That's nothing against short people, yeah? Like, when I'm saying shorter, like...
I mean, it's like because they were all relatively short, but this is not because this was the location where people were short, just like in the 23rd century, people
200 years ago, people were shorter than we are.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think we ever pointed that out, but that's the thing, yeah. Okay, yeah, but it allowed us to kind of see or at least speculate what they were doing, because some of them you could clearly see they didn't really like what was happening to them at the time, but they were still, the one thing that I particularly remembered, a gym. So a few were still on like this standing bicycle.
Treadmill or?
No, it's like they were sitting on kind of like a bicycle. Yeah. So it's kind of like a hover bike, but then with wheels.
Yeah.
But then
sure, they were really committed to their workout. So even though there was a volcano going on, they were like, no, I'm going to continue with what I'm doing.
Or they were trying to cycle away from it. Didn't realize they were
maybe in panic.
So that's you could really see what people were doing. So. What I found very interesting was the wall paintings. So this was in the outside area where they uncovered wall paintings that 21st century people were making. And what I found really impressive is that like one of the big paintings that they had, which was basically like a bunch of purple ladders next to each other with some black in it. They looked like very flashy. And it looked like somebody just written like a random word on a wall. Yeah. I can't remember what the word was. That didn't really mean anything to me, at least not anymore in this time. But then they found out that behind this group of ladders, there was like a white layer of paint. And behind that white layer of paint, like with ultraviolet, they found there were more ladders.
Right. Yeah.
Different ones. And then behind there was not a white layer of paint. And I think this went back like 3-4 times. Exactly. So it looked like the artist maybe wrote down a bunch of letters on the wall, then maybe wasn't happy with it, painted it over with white. So the wall was white again. And then the artist put back different letters until he was happy with what finally was in the, on this wall painting. And they uncovered quite a few walls in this area that had that. Yeah. And mostly there was a lot of writing, like you're saying, like letters or words or the like. Also some pictures sometimes. Yeah. And then one of the ones I really appreciated, there were these like really big mice. Oh yeah,
like really big spooky mice. Cute but spooky at the same time.
Yeah, because they had like some had like X's as where the eyes were, right?
Yeah. And other ones were like smiling and dancing and things like that.
But you could definitely recognize the style. So you could see like there were many different like paintings and signs and so on. But especially this purple word, they found that many times in this area.
Yeah,
like
across many walls.
But with only slight variations. So like the artist had definitely been experimenting with this a little bit until he was happy with one piece of art that he created, and then he created over and over again in this neighborhood, bigger, sometimes on doors, sometimes on walls, and so on. So there must have been an art district. That's what the speculation was about, with just a few resident artists that were basically giving a free hand to paint. Just that, like doing the same word over and over again, felt to me, I couldn't really relate to that. I like if artists like different
more variety,
but I guess it was the style of the time. Maybe this is 21st century. People just liked art the same all the time.
Like you see it on one wall, and you're like, hey, I'd like that on mine.
Yeah. Okay. Or maybe that was it. Maybe like the owners of the wall thought, this is really nice, I want this on my wall too, and then paid the artist to repeat it.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And so the reason for our listeners, you're wondering, like, why are they speculating about this? This isn't a thing now. Like walls, public property, private property, doesn't matter. They don't have things painted on them.
Yeah, this is largely not on roofs at the moment, right? So you can see it from the sky.
Exactly, but not on the walls that you see when you're walking along the street.
Yeah.
Right, and speaking of the street, so the surface of the street itself is asphalt.
Yeah.
Which is pretty unusual. I think we've mentioned before, our streets, they're all grass usually.
Yeah.
And so because that is so unusual and in such good condition, it's been preserved, been coated with time-resistant gel.
Yeah.
And then so the street itself has been coated with that, but then also the buildings that we were just talking about. It's all been coated with this time-resistant gel to avoid weathering.
Yeah.
And to stop it like crumbling away after some time.
But that was pretty cool because the gel is so, let's say, inconspicuous, so you can still
inconspicuous. Yeah, you don't notice it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very thin layer. It's completely transparent.
And then it was just like they were really careful that, like, despite this gel, they were really keeping it clean. So these asphalt streets, is funny enough, there were some cracks in the asphalt, but they were the original cracks.
Right.
So they wanted to preserve the asphalt exactly as it was. So there were some like rough patches and some cracks, but they've conserved it exactly in the state that they found it, and you can walk over it.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of asphalt streets.
It feels very strange underfoot. Much harder than grass.
And what I find interesting, it was warm because it was a pretty sunny day. It felt much warmer than the grass where we usually walk.
Right. Grass usually cools you down, but this actually, I needed to. I had sandals on anyway, but if I hadn't had my sandals on, it felt like it was the heat from it coming up was so much it would have burned my feet, I think.
I guess, yeah. But that was really cool. A lot of people they were taking pictures and so on. So like, here, this is me on an asphalt street and so on. Yeah, you don't get to see them a lot. They have some in Rome as well. They have some asphalt streets in Rome.
Sure.
What I thought was interesting, that was in one of the like exhibition halls, the trash bags. I thought that was quite...
one of the plaques explained they'd found like a whole big dumpster full of these trash bags.
Yeah.
And then in this exhibition, you had each bag, bag had its own table.
Yeah.
The contents were spread out. And then you could see what kind of things did people used to throw away 200 years ago.
And basically they had like the empty trash bag on one side. They really carefully unwrapped it, so not to disturb the trash bag. And then there was like in a display cabinet, they then had all the different items with a little sign next to it, either explaining what it was or speculating what it was. Because sometimes I just said plastic wrapping.
Yeah. I mean, with the plastic wrappings, some of it, I couldn't recognize, like brand names maybe I didn't recognize, or sometimes also what was being, it would say what it is, but I didn't know what the words, they weren't familiar, But the one thing I really did like was that apparently I thought it was a more recent flavor, but actually, no, they had salt and vinegar crisps like 200 years ago, which is pretty good.
In general, there was a lot of crisps and candy bars and those kind of things. What I found slightly disturbing initially were the bones. There were quite some bones there.
I mean, they were small, so it's clear they weren't... even though the people were small, these were much smaller, so it was clearly not human bones, but still it's a little bit disturbing.
Chicken bones, it turned out.
Exactly. And then, so obviously it was from a time before they knew how to make flesh-free nuggets.
Yeah.
So that's why they were eating actual animals. They hadn't worked out how not to do that yet.
I mean, I think it was quite... This was... Like the trash bags were telling me the most about life in the 21st century, because a lot of it, like either I knew it already, or there were hypotheses about it. But in this case, if you see the content of the 21st century trash bags, beer cans, I saw quite a lot.
Yep. Even broken wine glasses too. Yeah. Cigarette butts.
A lot of those.
Yeah.
I found...
like all those kinds of things, you see them in bacchanals, but you don't tend to see them just in regular day household trash. It was, back then they were just regular household trash.
I saw more than one crumpled TV guide, which had more advertising in it than TV stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, from the look of it, I couldn't, unfortunately, not really leaf through it.
Sure. And so it was like a user manual for using a television?
No, it was listing like a time, and then behind that was a show. So
okay, yeah, right. I remember.
As far as I understand, that show was only available at that time.
Right, and then it exactly, that's how they used to do it. They would show something, you could watch it if you were, watching the TV at that time. After that, it disappeared forever. There was no trace of it, no recordings. It was just gone.
Exactly, and it didn't even say a time zone. Mm-hmm. So I guess every time zone had its own TV guides.
Maybe that, or maybe it was up to you to know, like, okay, this is the time, but everyone knows. TV guides are, using this time zone, so I need to adjust it accordingly.
But I'm not sure if this was like really clever marketing, because if you say like watch a show whenever you want, wherever you want, then you're thinking, I will get around to this at some point, and then maybe you end up not watching it. But if you're saying watch this show, but only in this time zone at this point in time, then if you want to watch it, you have to do it then. So you make sure people actually see it. True. Maybe that was clever marketing.
Maybe. So by not meaning, so a choice made with that in mind to like concentrate attention in one particular time rather than just because they couldn't do better. Yeah, I think. But I mean, it's like if you then summarize like one display cabinet trash bag, it's like beer cans, wine glasses, cigarette butts, TV guide, crisps, and chicken bones. That's kind of summarizing the there wasn't much
typical life of the 21st century person.
Right. Didn't see any packaging for vegetables or fruit or anything like that.
No sign of that. So, so then at least we understand our listeners a little better. Mm-hmm. They are possibly listening to our show right now, eating some chicken bones.
Right. Reading their TV guides. Yeah.
No, exactly. So we probably should be hurrying up because their favorite show is coming up in a few minutes and they can't wait.
Right. And maybe they think this is like a thing like those TV shows. They have to listen to it in one go and then it's gone forever. They don't realize they can pause. And
good point.
Hey, I don't actually, like this iPod we have, you can pause and so on, but maybe they're using a device that you can't pause a show on. That'd be tough luck for them if it is.
Yeah. But there are quite a few other cool areas.
Yeah. Sure. Two big walls, like in the exhibition space, they'd recovered these huge billboards.
Yeah,
so put one on each wall.
Those were amazing. This was some really careful excavation work to excavate these billboards because they were massive, but also the signs on them were made of paper, and they managed to preserve those.
That is impressive.
So two of them they managed to restore so nicely that you could basically see them again. Did you understand what was on it?
I mean, the words, I could read the words. I'll read them out for our listeners, yeah? So one of them said, "Don't pay that traffic ticket, pay us." And I'll read the other one and then we can talk about them. "Don't vote for them, vote for me. Simple Simon for the Senate." So, and obviously...
It's good you wrote them down because I do remember seeing them. But
remembered them otherwise, but I wrote them down, exactly. And...
It's Simon.
Exactly, that second one, I was like, hey, there was someone called Simon. I mean, it's not such an uncommon name, but still, it's fun to see my own name there on the wall of this museum.
Simple Simon for the Senate. Mm-hmm. Sounds pretty cool, but I have no idea what it means.
No, I mean, so it's saying don't vote for them, vote for me. So there was some kind of election, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
And not me, but this other Simple Simon was asking or telling people to vote for him.
I'm wondering if this Simon might not actually be called Simple Simon, but he used that because it really alliterates. Yeah.
Could be. I mean, sorry if you're hearing this, Simple Simon, you're not so famous that we know you now, but presumably 200 years ago you were.
Exactly, and
or at least hope to be.
And your billboard will be in the museum in 200 years. So nice. Thinking about having a lasting memory, you got it.
Yeah, legacy.
Legacy, that's it. Yeah. And the other one, like, don't pay that traffic ticket, pay us.
Sure. I mean, presumably you pay them and then they pay the ticket on your behalf. They're doing some kind of collective bargaining thing, like instead of paying the full amount, you pay this organization and then they'll work out a lower rate.
But it's understand that you had to pay to be in the traffic. That I thought that was in it. Like you needed a ticket to be able to be part of the traffic. That's what a traffic ticket is, I guess.
I presume, yeah.
Huh. Okay, so how can I don't pay that traffic ticket, pay us? So then how do you get into the traffic?
In the first place, right. I was imagining it after the fact. Maybe it's before you go through.
Okay. Maybe they don't want... okay.
Maybe it's like a season pass.
Okay. Yeah, that could be. Well, one thing that I thought was, like, I'm not sure what the right word is, peculiar, I guess, is the public toilet. Did you go in there?
I did. And all the other things. We mentioned this time-resistant gel. Everything's covered in it to obviously stop time passing for those things. So in the public toilet, everything's covered in that too. So you think, I can also touch things. It's way too fragile.
Yeah.
In the public toilet.
Yes, they were saying don't touch anything. So exactly. I would have loved to touch the things.
Yeah, of course. That's the best place for it.
All the different colors, but it sounds like please don't touch things here. It's yes, you could go to the bathroom wherever you want, whenever you want it. They had all kinds of gear there to help you stand and sit and wash and
a table that folded down for if you had a baby.
Yeah.
To clean your baby, I guess.
Yeah. I just don't understand what all the different colors were. Things were like white and gray and all kinds of different shades of brown, especially on the floor. Not sure. I couldn't really understand what the color coding was. Maybe it was just like the design style of the time.
Yeah. Or it was like something you knew, like growing up back then, you knew it, like, you learned it as a kid and so you just knew it. And so it was never like documented.
Or maybe it's just the style. That's how all toilets were. The ceiling was largely white, floor was largely all kinds of unclear colors, and the walls were, anyway, weird. Anything else you remember?
The last part, or at least for me, the last part of the museum I saw before I left, there's a room with lots of poles with signs on them.
Oh, yeah.
They arranged it pretty nicely in the museum. When you're walking through, it felt a bit like walking through a forest.
But that was for traffic vehicles, right?
Yeah, the vast majority of them. Yeah, they were poles with these various signs on them. And exactly, they were for traffic. And it seems like back then, rather than just all the cars or all the vehicles communicating with one another and having access to, basically the information through the internet. Instead of that, they actually needed to look at these signs on the poles, using their cameras, processing the information that way to know like what speed to go, what was allowed in this area, stuff like that.
So like traffic coming from left and right and up and down, how to deal with this. And of course, interestingly enough, because in the 23rd century, traffic is 3D, right, in all directions. But 21st century, it was 2D, just on the flat surface. But still, all the vehicles needed all of these signs to navigate around. That was actually kind of pretty impressive if you think about it. You drive, like your vehicle drives through, and it just automatically detects all the different signs and know exactly what it needs to do instead of just.
Right, it would work better with no internet connection.
Yeah. But for me, I like some signs I had absolutely no clue what they meant. So I read some of the signs next to it, like this orange triangle.
What did that mean again?
I don't know, the triangle, a diamond. So a diamond shaped. It was like orange with like a white right border around it.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it meant. I mean, it explained it next to it. I forgot. Sure. But just like if you look at the sign and then see what it means, like this, I can't really find a relation.
No.
But your other ones were super obvious.
Yeah, like there was one which just said in big, huge letters, stop.
Yeah. And then in small letters, eating animals.
Exactly, much smaller beneath there. And presumably, eating animals. Back then we were mentioning they eat chicken, but I guess the point was when you're driving your car, don't be eating animals while you're driving.
Yeah, okay, that I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Although actually that would have been a sign then for the people in the car. Because the car itself isn't going to be eating animals.
True, actually. Yeah, I guess.
Maybe they were for both the signs, or there was a mixture. Maybe some for the cars, some for the vehicles.
Or maybe it wasn't a sign. Maybe it was a billboard.
Indeed, a really small one on a pole.
Yeah. Maybe it's they put it in the wrong room. Maybe they didn't realize it was a billboard.
Yeah. Well, whoever made it originally, maybe they were like playing on the fact, like, hey, this looks like a street sign, but really it's a reminder not to eat animals. But then, sure, the curators got it a bit mixed up.
Yeah. I didn't realize when we were there, but I was reading it afterwards. Remember this museum heist not too long ago, where a bunch of plastic bottle caps were stolen? That was this museum. It was this excavation site that we just went to.
Okay, that makes more sense why those bottle caps were so valuable.
Yeah. And apparently, because they had a whole separate display where they had all kinds of different bottle caps, apparently. I didn't notice like an empty display cabinet or so, but that was this place.
Stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get those back at some point.
I hope so. Yeah, as far as I know, they don't know who did it and where they are now. So probably on the black market. Yeah. So if I see any plastic bottle caps for sale for thousands of euros at some point in the second-hand market, I will know where they came from. Okay, cool. That was a summary of our trip to the 21st century excavation site.
Yeah, hopefully our listeners enjoyed it, and they can let us know how much they enjoyed it.
Yes.
By writing to us at michaellasagna5@gmail.com and putting the number 185 in the subject line so that we know this episode successfully went back.
And for now, thanks for listening, and see you in 200 years.
Bye-bye.